Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupaswarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sarvebhyo Namaha, Sarvesham Krite Swagatam. Swamatusvinnagatraya visrastakabarasrajah drishtva parishramam Krishnaha kripayasit swabandhane. So this shloka we heard 2 sessions ago when we were discussing or talking about the Damodara Leela of Sri Bhagavan, in which Mother Yashoda, she binds him. So this shloka says that seeing his mother's tired body, Svinnagatra, means she was sweating, her body was sweating, she was looking very tired as she was trying to bind him. And the flowers in her hair, which had been set in her hair, they had all become loose and they were falling to the ground. Seeing that, Parishramam, seeing her tiredness, all the effort that she was making to tie him up, he became very compassionate. Kripaya, out of compassion, he allowed her to bind him. And then she bound him to the grinding mortar. So this shloka we heard 2 sessions back, and in the last session we heard this shloka. Eva muktva sa devarshihi gato narayanashramam Nalaku manigrivau asaturyamal. So this shloka is describing the 2 sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, and these two were actually in a very inappropriate mood. Their behavior was completely not befitting their status. And Narada, Sri Narada Muni, the greatest among the gurus in this universe, he was passing by. So as he was passing by, they did not notice him, even though the girls who were with them, they noticed him. Immediately they covered themselves. But these 2 boys, they were so indulged and so intoxicated that they didn't notice him at all. So because of that, out of compassion, Sri Narada decided to curse them, that you will become trees, you will become sthavara, means you will become entities which don't move, which are fixed to one place. So having cursed them like that, out of compassion, it is not out of anger, for their welfare. Okay, we will discuss why it is for their welfare. So having cursed them like that, Sri Narada went to the Narayana Ashrama where he stays. And Nalakuvara and Manigreva became 2 trees known as Arjuna trees, and they became trees on this earth. And where on this earth? In a place called Gokula. They were very fortunate by the blessings of Sri Narada. They became trees in Gokula, not some arbitrary place, not in some arbitrary jungle, but in Gokula near the Yamuna river. And they stayed there for 36,000 years because Sri Narada Muni's curse said that they will be in the form of trees for 100 years of the devas. And that translates to 36,000 years of the human of this earth, on this earth. So for 36,000 years on this earth, they remained as trees, and they also were blessed with the memory of what they had done. It is not that as trees they became completely devoid of consciousness, or you can say almost devoid of consciousness, like we believe normal trees are. The living being, the Jivatma in the normal tree body, does not have such a bright consciousness as many other living beings like the animals and the human beings. Its consciousness is an extreme state of tamoguna, and it is almost not conscious of what is happening around it. So These people were not like that. They had full memory of what they had done. So they knew the offense they had committed. Now, Sri Narada also blessed them that Vasudeva, Bhagavan Sri Vasudeva, when he comes to this earth, he will liberate you and he will give you prema, his love, pure love. So they remembered that too, and they were waiting for Sri Bhagavan to come. Okay, so this shloka we read in the last session. And so one question that comes to mind is this, that what drove these sons of Kuvera, who are devas actually, they are not manushas, they are devas, and thereby they are in a higher state of consciousness and knowledge than the human beings, the manushas. Okay, we are all called manushya, manushya jati. So we are one type of species, and this universe has many types of species. In our Indian knowledge system, uh, these species are also called devas, gandharvas, yakshas, rakshasas, so on, so on. So many different species, nagas. Apart from the tiryak jantu, the animals that we see on the earth, there are so many other species. So these people, the sons of Kuvera, they are yakshas. They belong to the category called yakshas, which is a form of devas, a subcategory you can say, like they're somewhat like devas. So they are in a much elevated state of consciousness and they have knowledge. So how did they happen to behave in this manner? Sometimes you don't see even human beings behaving like this, normally speaking. Only sometimes they behave like that. So why did these people behave like that? Now the answer to that in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks Krishna this question: Atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichanapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. What makes a person commit pap, even though that person knows that it is pap and does not want to do so, as if by force there is something which makes him commit that pap, even though he knows it is pap. Why does that happen? And Sri Bhagavan replies, Kama yeshaha, Krodha yeshaha, Rajoguna samudbhava, Mahashano Mahapapma, Vidhi ena miha vairinam. There's something known as Kama and also known as Krodha. The same thing is known as both Kama and Krodha, and it's a Mahavairi. It's a great enemy which is sitting inside us. And this Kama or desire, the desire to enjoy, it is so powerful that even when you know that you're doing something wrong, the powerful desire drives you to do that thing. Okay, it could be something as simple as let's say binge eating. Okay, many of us do binge eating. Binge eating means we eat even when we are not hungry, just because our mind is craving for something to satisfy the tongue. We feel a bit stressed out, so we want to eat. We get some relief from that. This is called binge eating. And so why does it happen? It's because this craving from inside comes karma, simple example of karma, and we are not able to resist it. And we know that by eating like that, it is not going to benefit us, our health. From the health perspective, it is not really good. It will only add to the fat in our body. It may increase the cholesterol and the BP and everything. But even though we know all that, we still end up going and doing binge eating and we put on weight on the body. So that's a simple example of this principle that Sri Bhagavan talks about. But you can think of more examples of how people indulge in so many activities of hatred. They commit crime against other people. They do politics, and they sometimes murder or abuse others in very offensive ways, by which the pap is much more than the example of binge eating, and thereby they are going to suffer more in the future. What happens? It's because of this karma. So nobody is free from karma. Even the devas in the universe, the greatest living beings, they can come under the influence of karma. And why does it happen? Karma is a product of what is known as rajoguna. Shri Bhagavan says rajoguna samutpavaha. So it is very important for us to understand how these gunas of prakriti, these are called the three gunas of prakriti, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And the whole 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is devoted to explaining, introducing us to these three gunas and their properties. In the last session, we touched upon the first 5 shlokas of the 14th chapter, in which Sri Bhagavan talks about his relationship with material nature. He is above and beyond material nature. Material nature is one of his shaktis. He has different types of shaktis: antaranga shakti, tatastha shakti, bahiranga shakti. The bahiranga shakti or external shakti that is considered as external shakti or potency, that is also known as Maya, Yoga Maya, Daivi Maya, and she governs Prakriti, material nature. And this Prakriti is said to be Ekapada Vibhuti of Bhagavan. Among the 4 pillars of his Shaktis, one of the pillars is this Bahiranga Shakti. And so this Prakriti operates, the mechanism through which Prakriti operates in this samsara is through the three gunas. Guna means in Sanskrit, actually the word guna in Sanskrit has got multiple meanings. Okay, one of the meanings that we commonly know and we use is quality. The quality of something uska gun hai, we say. Quality, okay, quality or property or attribute of something. That is one meaning of the word guna. Another meaning in which the word guna is used is slightly broader than quality. It means any aspect. Any aspect of something is called its guna. Okay. Then there is a completely different meaning which says multiple, like say dvigunam means two times, trigunam means three times. So multiple of something. So that word multiple translates as guna in Sanskrit, or guna in Sanskrit translates as multiple in English. So that's a completely different meaning. And yet another meaning of guna is this that I'm using here called the rope or string that is used to tie something. Okay, so in this sense of tying or binding something, the word guna is used in the Shastra as three gunas of Prakriti or the three ropes of Prakriti. Prakriti uses three types of ropes, three categories of ropes to bind the jivatmas, living beings like us, in this samsara, in material existence. So let's learn about them. In the sixth shloka of Bhagavad Gita, the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, sixth shloka, Sri Bhagavan says this: Sattvam rajas tama iti gunah prakriti sambhavaha nibadhnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. So he introduces by saying there are three gunas: sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattvam rajas tama iti. Sattva, rajaha, tamaha. Okay, in Sanskrit, the root word sattva is akaranta, rajas sakaranta, tamas sakaranta, ending with is. Sattvaha, rajas, and tamas. Okay, so now these three gunas, prakriti sambhavaha, they are born of prakriti. Prakriti makes them possible, or they are manifestations of prakriti. In other words, they are mechanisms of prakriti. Nibadhnanti means they bind. Badhanati, bandhanam. In Hindi we say bandhan karna, bandhna. Okay, the word badhnam, Sanskrit. Nibadhnanti, badhnati is all indicate binding, activity of binding. Nibadhnanti mahabahu means Arjuna, means a person with very big arms. He's very broad-shouldered, got strong arms. He's a warrior, a Kshatriya, mahabaho. Dehinam avyayam. Dehe means in the body. Dehinam, the person who resides in the body. That is the living being. See, all the living beings in this material existence, the jivatmas, the living being is jivatma. The jivatma resides in their body. So the body is called deha and the living being is called dehi. Dehaha asya asti iti dehi. So dehinam means the living being is bound to the body by the three gunas of Prakriti. That's what this is saying. Avyayam. Avyayam dehinam. The living being is avyaya, described as with the adjective avyaya is used. Avyaya means jiska vyaya nahi hota hai, which doesn't have a depletion. Vyaya means depletion, diminishing, reduction, erosion. It doesn't have an erosion, but the body has. The body has an erosion. It depletes, means it actually grows for some time and then reaches a peak and then starts depleting. In the old age, it depletes and finally the body dies. After the Jivatma leaves the body completely erodes, right? You can't keep it like that. It just erodes and merges with the earth. So even though the body, the living being is avyaya, the body is not avyaya, it is vyaya. But the living being identifies with the body and thinks of himself as vyaya because of that reason. O Mahabaho, one with mighty arms, the gunas, the ropes of material nature, Prakriti, known as sattva, rajas, and tamas, bind the imperishable living being in the perishable material body. This word avyaya is used to make the contrast between the perishable nature of the body and the imperishable nature of the jivatma. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakamanayam sukasangena badhnati jnana sangena chanagha. So here now he is describing the properties of sattva guna, the rope known as sattva. When sattva is binding, when sattva is predominating on that living being, then what happens? Nirmalatvat prakashakam anamayam. Owing to its pure nature. Sattva brings about purity. Prakashakam, it illuminates. And anamayam means it removes distress. When sattva is present, it removes stress, it removes anxiety, it removes distress. Anamayaha. Anamayaha. Amayaha means that which is distressful, which is bothersome, which is troublesome. That is amaya. Amaya also means disease, right? So amaya, troublesome, bothersome, disturbing, distracting, etc., which we don't want, undesirable thing. Anamayaha means that which is free from botheration. So sattva guna removes trouble, it relaxes us, it removes unnecessary botheration, stress in the mind, in the body, etc. Nirmalatvat, because of its pure nature. It is nirmala, it is free from mala. Mala means impurity. Nirmala means that which is free from impurity. Nirmalatvat prakashakam anamayam. So what does it do? Sukha sanghena badnati. It binds us to happiness. Jnana sanghena chanada. And to knowledge. It binds us to two things. One is to sukha, happiness, and the other is to jnanam, or knowledge. So when somebody is under the influence of sattva guna, they become very attached to that feeling of happiness that they get because of that sattva guna. There is feeling of lightness of mind, clarity of thought, and a sense of inner contentment, a sense of inner peace. Right? All the normal cravings don't disturb that person. The person feels whatever way things are, I'm fine with them. I'm good with that. Right? And practices knowledge, wants more knowledge, is very inspired by knowledge, wants to seek more and more learning. Okay, such a person feels the happiness of knowledge. So sukha sangena badhanati, he gets attracted to knowledge and attached to it, and also get attracted to sukha, to this material happiness, this form of happiness, sattvic happiness. O anagha, sinless one, owing to its purity and non-troublesome and illuminating nature, sattva binds one by fostering attachment to happiness and knowledge. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tannibadhnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tannibadhnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. So what does rajoguna do? Rajoguna ragatmakam. Raga means a liking for something. Okay, raga. The word raga has different meanings again in Sanskrit, but here it's used in the sense of liking for something. And what kind of liking it is? It's liking which is driven by trishna. Trishna means a craving, a thirst. Trishna literally means a thirst. Like, for example, somebody feels thirsty for water. Normally, when we feel thirsty, they say the best drink is water, not Coke, not some soda, not some juice, but just plain water. When you're really thirsty, water cannot, there's nothing which can give your thirst relief like water can, right? So thirst for water, that's a simple example of trishna. But here, trishna does not refer to thirst for water. It refers to thirst or craving for material pleasures, sensual pleasures. Okay, so material pleasures, of course, they begin with sensual pleasures, but they are not limited to sensual pleasures. Material, pleasures refer to all kinds of material hankering, material craving, like the craving for a bigger position in society, this material society, a bigger name among other people, reputation, fame, but the sense of power, the ability to control other people, control property, own a lot of property, have everything bigger than what we have, a bigger house, a bigger car, a bigger, more like bigger bed, whatever, everything bigger, everything more, more and more and more. That craving for that more of this, more of that, that is material craving, right? So it's not merely sensual pleasure or sexual pleasure. That's only a small part of it, but it's much bigger than that, right? So all kinds of material craving, and in our Shastra, material craving most often is associated with the craving to go to Swarga. Okay, when the Indian knowledge system was dominant in society, uh, the understanding was that after this life, it is possible for a human being to go to Swarga. Swarga is a higher state of existence. By doing punya, by doing good activities, one earns punya, and by earning punya, one becomes eligible to take birth in Swarga in the future, where one can live for a very long time, enjoy various kinds of riches and pleasure, and complete freedom from all kinds of anxieties and so on. Okay, so that desire to go to Swarga is a very strong form of material pleasure. Today in India, we see a much weaker form of the same thing, which is like the desire to go to a foreign country, make a foreign trip, go and stay in a foreign country, or migrate, go outside and become a citizen of the US, or become a citizen of the UK, become a citizen of Japan, go outside India and find a better place to live. Okay, this is a kind of a shadow version of that same craving to go to Swarga, which people, our ancestors had. Right. So Rajas actually drives such craving. Rajoguna, such craving comes from Rajoguna. The craving to go to Swarga Loka also is a craving driven by Rajoguna. Okay. Tan nibadnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. It binds. So what does it bind us to? It binds us to the activities. We become very passionate about those activities which we think will help us achieve those cravings. Okay. So somebody is very much eager, very desirous to go to the US and become a US citizen, right? Then what will they do? They will do all possible things that they can to see how they can migrate to the US. They'll probably try to get admission into a US university, or find a job in the US if they have completed their studies here, or join an Indian company which has branches in the US and request for being given some responsibility in the US, a posting in the US. Then they can then switch to another company there. Whatever, they'll figure out ways by which they can go to the US. That's what is meant by karma sangena, become attached to activities which help us to achieve that goal. Day and night we think of that, right? We see that this is happening. All people around us and even we ourselves, we crave and we work for those things. We spend a lot of energy thinking, what should I do? What should I do to get that? What should I do to get this? Right? So we become attached to those activities. Those activities become very dear to us. And our attachment shows in various ways. For example, one way in which it shows is when somebody opposes us. If somebody were to come in the way of our doing the activity, we become angry with that person, right? If that activity doesn't happen, then we'll become very depressed or become angry with whatever comes in the way. This is a symptom of attachment. O Kaunteya, the son of Kunti, the craving for material pleasure is the essential nature of Rajas. Rajas generates greed, Trishna, Raga. Raga and Trishna you can also translate as greed, Lobha, and material attachment. Know that it binds the living being by fostering attachment to the pursuits of material pleasures. These pursuits are what is meant by the word karma here, activity, right? In our Shastra, we have a whole section in the Veda called Karma Kanda. Majority, a dominant part of the Veda is Karma Kanda. It is much bigger than the other Kanda, Upasana Kanda, Jnana Kanda. Karma Kanda is a dominant portion. And Karma Kanda refers to activities which can help us satisfy our material cravings in a dharmic manner. Whatever the Veda says is dharma, it's according to dharma. So, in a dharmic way, how can we satisfy material cravings? So, which means the Veda as such is not opposing by itself pursuit of material craving. It's just showing us because it knows that opposing will not serve any purpose. If it opposes material craving bluntly, then people will not accept the Veda itself. They will reject the Veda because material craving for them is more important. So they come to the Veda because Veda gives them a way to follow it. And the Veda gives them a way which is according to Dharma. And by doing something in accordance with Dharma, one is protected from Papa. If you're able to do karma, even craving for material pleasure, if you're able to pursue it without in accordance with Dharma, then there is no Papa in that. You can get Punya properly and then go and enjoy what you wanted to enjoy. Now, Tamoguna. Tamastvajnanajam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nidrabhis tannibathnati bharata. So what does tamoguna do? It is first of all ajnanaja. Ajnanajam means that which is born from ignorance. Right? Ajnanam, ignorance. Ajnanajam. Ajnanena jayate iti ajnanajam. Tamastvajnanajam. Because of our ajnana, tamoguna grows in us. Ajnanajam vidhi. And you can also think because of our ajnana, uh, it makes us do papa. We'll come to that. Tamastvajnanajam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam. It is delusive in nature. It deludes the living being. Right? It makes the living being think of the wrong thing as the right thing and the right thing as the wrong thing. For example, stealing or telling a lie, cheating somebody and taking their money is the correct way to live. This thinking is an influence of tamoguna. telling the truth, accepting the authority, and following the authority and cooperating with the authority is not a smart way to live. It's a wrong way to live. Only foolish people live like that. This thinking is a thinking of tamoguna. When tamoguna is high, people try to oppose everything. They try to oppose, they try to fight. They become very quarrelsome. They don't want to accept anything. Right? They want to say, my way is the only way. And by doing that, they get into trouble. And they don't accept that they are getting into trouble because of tamoguna. It is delusive in nature. It makes them think that the other person is unkind to them. The other person is unfair to them. When tamoguna is very high, you perceive the right person as doing the wrong thing and the wrong person as doing the right thing. That is what tamoguna does. Pramadalasya nidrabihi. Pramadaha means negligence. You neglect the important things that you have to do. You neglect dharma completely and you attend to things which you should not be doing. Alasyam, laziness. Laziness, we all know, right? It's nothing new. Nidra, nidra is sleepiness. Pramadalasya nidrabhi. So negligence, laziness, and sleep, these things are promoted by tamoguna. Okay. Now here I'll just make a very small point that nidra, sleep, is very important for us. For all of us, at least for most of us, you see our body, because we are living in this material body, even if you are practicing yoga, even if you are practicing, the cultivation of sattva guna, we want more sattva in us. Even then, an important requirement is sleep, good sleep. If a person doesn't get good sleep at night, if they are very sleepy and tossing and so on, then it is very unfavorable to yoga. And because tamoguna is the element which fosters sleep, right? So therefore, tamoguna has that one role. It has this utility. It has a useful utility that when tamoguna comes, and tamoguna is sufficient, there is good sleep, and tamoguna plays a role in giving us good sleep. Right? So sleep is required, and therefore tamoguna to that extent is required for the body. When yogis become spiritually very advanced, then their body depends less and less on this tamoguna. It's able to recover, it's able to perform its functions even by sleeping less. So for such people, tamoguna is not required. When spiritual advancement happens, then tamoguna, it doesn't, our consciousness, our body becomes independent of that tamoguna. And we can, the body can take care of itself without that influence of tamoguna. So we will not go much into that particular thing right now. We will just understand what tamoguna does, in what ways it is bad for us. Pramadalasya nidrabihi tannibadhnati bharata. So it nibadhnati means it binds the living being to those things. So that person who is under tamoguna not only knows that he is feeling lazy, he is aware that he is feeling lazy, but he becomes attached to it. He wants more of it. He enjoys it. He finds whatever happiness, whatever form of happiness, he likes being like that. He likes to get up late in the morning, sleep a long time, sleep in his work time, all kinds of, you find undesirable effects of tamoguna. But this person who is under tamoguna does not discard them. He likes them, develops a liking for them, and continues to foster them. That is the effect of tamoguna. O Bharata. On the other hand, know that tamas is born of ignorance and deludes all living beings. It binds the living being to material existence through inadvertence, laziness, and sleep. So now he is consolidating. He says, Sattvam sukhe sanjayati rajah karmani bharata jnanam avrityatu tamaha pramade sanjayatyuta. So whatever we said in the last three slokas, sattva guna binds one. Sanjayati means binds, badhnati. Sukhe, to sukha, to happiness of a certain type, that fine nature of happiness, which is free from material craving. Rajaha karmani bharata, rajas to activities of material pursuit, activities which will help us to satisfy our material cravings. Rajaha binds us to that. And jnanam avritya tu tamaha, by covering our jnana. Jnana or pure knowledge is always present inside us. Well within us, that pure knowledge is present. But by covering that pure knowledge, ajnanam, tamaha, tamaha is another word for ajnanam or darkness, pramade sanjayatyuta. It binds us to pramada. And by using the word pramada or inadvertence or negligence here, he is also, through upalakshanam, he is covering the other effects of tamoguna also, like sleep and nidra and alasya and so on. O Bharata, sattva binds us to happiness, rajas binds one to the pursuits of material pleasure, and tamas, by covering one's knowledge, binds one to inadvertence. Rajas tamascha vibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata. Rajas sattvam tamaschaiva tamas sattvam rajas tatha. So he says that at any given point of time, one of the three gunas is dominant. So rajas tamascha abhibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata. So sattva, when it becomes predominant, how does it become predominant? It subdues the other two. So when sattva is predominant, we should understand that now rajoguna, tamoguna have been subdued. They are present. They are present, but they have been subdued. Sattva has subdued them and become predominant. But it doesn't stay all the time. Rajas sattvam tamaschaiva. Similarly, rajoguna becomes predominant by subduing the sattva guna and tamoguna. Similarly, tamas sattvam rajas tatha. Tamoguna becomes predominant by subduing sattva guna and rajoguna. So all the three gunas by rotation at any given point of time are predominant, and they become predominant by subduing the other two gunas. So the general understanding is that all the three gunas are present in every living being in this material existence, including the devas. And at any given point of time, one of them is predominant and the other two are subdued and they are lower. So then what is our goal? Our goal is to try to live in such a manner, try to do those things by which sattva predominates the maximum amount of time, and rajas and tamas, their predominance goes down. And so as one practices yoga, practices bhakti, or practices even other forms of yoga like karma yoga, jnana yoga, etc., sattva guna increases in them. As sattva guna increases, sattva guna starts to dominate more and more of the time. So in a day, if you have 24 hours, more portion of that 24 hours is dominated by sattva guna and less by rajoguna and tamoguna. Right? And that is the desirable state. Whereas people who don't do that, people who do adharma, people who are not aware of dharma or who are aware of dharma but don't want to practice it, who reject it because they have more faith in the other things, they will experience either rajoguna dominating more amount of time in their life or tamoguna dominating more amount of time in their life. O Bharata, sattva prevails after suppressing rajas and tamas. Likewise, rajas prevails after surpassing or suppressing sattva and tamas prevails after surpassing sattva and rajas. Okay, so in this way, we have done 6 shlokas today. And in these 6 shlokas, we have got a basic introduction to the 3 gunas of Prakriti, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And I will summarize what we learned in these bullet points here. Prakriti uses 3 gunas, ropes, sattva, rajas, and tamas, to bind the jivatmas, which are the living beings, to samsara, to our current material existence. Sattva is the most desirable of them. Sattva is purifying, it is non-troublesome, it's illuminating, but it binds one to that knowledge, a sense of knowledge and the sense of material happiness, which is experienced in sattva guna. Rajas fosters craving and greed for material pleasures or material possession, material expansion, and so on, and binds one to the activities in their pursuit. Tamas is an effect of ajnana and fosters delusion, negligence, sleep, and so on, laziness, and binds one to those experiences. At any given time, one of the gunas predominates by subduing the other two. And therefore, we should figure out constantly our effort should be to do activities which help us to increase sattva and remain in sattva all the time. Now here I should also quickly mention that there is a misconception in society. Those who have read the Gita or those who talk about these topics, sometimes they say that it is required to have rajoguna, because if you don't have rajoguna, then you won't be able to do any activity. To do work, you need rajoguna. If you don't have rajoguna, then you won't do any work and you will just sit quietly. Now that's a complete wrong understanding. A person who has sattva guna also does work. A person who has rajoguna also does work, and a person who has tamoguna also does work. Under all the 3 guna influences, you do work, but the motivation for work is different. That is the difference between them. It is not that only in rajoguna you are able to do work and therefore you need rajoguna. That's not true at all. A person who has very little rajoguna in them and has a lot of sattva guna also does a lot of work, but the motivation for that work comes from their understanding of the reality in a better way. They do work out of selflessness. They do work for the benefit of society. They do work as a matter of duty, as a matter of serving the Supreme. They understand that they are part of the larger consciousness, the cosmic consciousness. and they relate with that consciousness. And they say that it's my duty to do this. And they take so much happiness in doing that. Doing work out of duty in Sattva Guna gives so much happiness, right? So they are driven by that happiness of the sense of duty, doing something out of duty. They are not driven like in Rajoguna. The person in lot of Rajoguna would do the same work, but with the desire for the returns of that work, for that the phala, right? That's what Sri Bhagavan says when he talks about karma yoga, to reject that. He wants us to reject that Rajoguna and adopt the mentality of Sattva Guna and still work the same way, still work hard. Working hard or working sincerely is not opposed. He's not opposed to that. He's saying do that, but do it as a matter of duty, not as a craving for the pleasure from that. Because in doing this way, there is a higher form of happiness, a more sustained happiness, which does not lead to long-term misery, but only increases more and more in the future. Right? So therefore, this misconception that Rajoguna is required for work is completely debunked here. Okay, so then how do we increase Sattva Guna? So now the Bhagavatam says that one of the ways to do that is by listening to the narrations of Bhagavan, Krishna Katha, right? Listening to Krishna Katha is one of the ways in which we increase the sattva in us and decrease or destroy Rajoguna, Tamoguna. And the Krishna Katha not only helps us to become more sattvic, but it takes us even beyond Sattva Guna. Okay, there is a state called the fourth state, which is beyond the three gunas of Prakriti. Even beyond Sattva Guna, there is a state of existence in which one becomes even detached from that knowledge which Sattva Guna produces. And one relates, directly connects with Bhagavan, who is Nirguna. Nirguna means beyond the three gunas of Prakriti. So by listening to Krishna Katha, by listening to the Shastra, by contemplating on the qualities of Bhagavan, who is Nirguna, and by doing bhakti unto him, one is able to transcend that. So now we will continue. Because of that reason, our efforts in every class now involve reading the Bhagavatam. And we have been reading the Bhagavatam, we've been listening to Krishna Lila, and our story has gone up to the point where now, on the one hand, the two sons of Kuvera, they are bound and they are existing as trees, right? Their Rajoguna and Tamoguna led them to behave in an inappropriate way, and Sri Narada Muni blessed them that you will get the association of Sri Bhagavan. Sri Bhagavan personally will come and relieve you, deliver you from the curse that I'm giving you now, and you will get prema. So by that kripa, they are now living as two Arjuna trees, and here Mother Yashoda has bound her little baby to that mortar because he's performing too much mischief, and she goes away. So what does Sri Bhagavan do after that? He looks out of the door and he sees the two trees. And then what happens there after? So he decides to uphold the words of Sri Narada. The Bhagavatam says, now I'm reading from the Dashama Skanda of Bhagavatam, Dashama Adhyaya, the 10th chapter. We are continuing from the story. Risher Bhagavata Mukhyasya Satyam Kartum Vacho Harihi Jagamashanakaistatra Yatrastam Yamalarjunao. Risher Bhagavata Mukhyasya, the Bhagavata Mukhya, that is the greatest among, the most important among the Bhagavatas, the Bhaktas of Bhagavan, Rishihi, Narada Rishihi, to make his words to Satyam Kartum Vacho Harihi, Vachaha, Satyam Kartum Vachaha, his words to make them true, Harihi, Sri Krishna, Jagama, he went, Shanakaihi, slowly, means he's bound to that mortar, his waist is tied to the mortar, he's only a small baby. So slowly he's crawling, he's not running and going, he's crawling on his hands and legs, and he's dragging the mortar behind him, right? Now this is something that Mother Yashoda did not foresee. She thought this mortar is so heavy, even she has difficulty lifting that mortar, but she can lift her baby very easily. So the mortar in her perception is much heavier than the baby. So if you tie the baby to the mortar, then obviously the baby cannot move anywhere. That's her thinking, and she has gone. But now, what is Sri Bhagavan doing? He is effortlessly, very slowly, but effortlessly, he's moving towards the two trees, Arjuna trees, and Mother Yashoda has no idea that he's doing that, and the mortar is very smoothly being dragged by him. Yatrastam Yamalarjuna, also he moved in the direction of the two Arjuna trees. Devars shirme priyatamo yadimau dhanadatmajao tattatha sadhayishyami yadgitam tan mahatmana. So he's thinking, as he's dragging this mortar and going forward, he's thinking this Devarshi Narada, me Priyatamaha, is so dear to me. He is the most dear Bhakta to me. We studied earlier when we did the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the last 8 shlokas of the 12th chapter, Sri Bhagavan says, who are dear to him? Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitro karuna evacha, those who are free from all hatred towards others, those who are very kind, those who are very friendly towards others, those who are compassionate towards others. Such people are very dear to him. He lists some 36, 37 qualities there of his bhaktas who are very dear to him. And Sri Narada is one such personality. Devar Shirme Priyatamaha. This Narada is so dear to me. And here, Yadimau Dhanadatmajao, that is the beautiful part here. Even these two sons of Kuvera, Dhanadatmajao means the two sons of Kuvera. Dhanada is Kuvera, and Kuvera's two sons, Atmajao. They are also dear to me. So how did they become dear to him? We don't hear about them as bhaktas. The only thing we have heard about them so far is that they were misbehaving actually. In front of Narada, when Narada was coming, they were completely intoxicated with some wine and also intoxicated by their wealth, by their very wealthy position. So how did they become dear to Krishna? Krishna doesn't say anywhere that such people are dear to him. Now, we should make the connection. The connection is that they got the blessings of Narada. Narada blessed them that Sri Bhagavan will come and deliver you, and he showed his compassion. Now it is said that bhakti and Sri Bhagavan's kripa on us comes when the bhakta gives us his kripa. By the bhakta's kripa, Bhagavat kripa comes. So Narada has given his kripa to these two boys. That's enough. Now Bhagavan is feeling his kripa towards them. So they have become very dear to him as well. Therefore he says, Tat tatha sadhishyami yadgitam tan mahatmana. What my great devotee Bhakta Narada uh, said, his words. What did he say? He said that when Sri Bhagavan, when Vasudeva comes here, he will liberate you. He will deliver you from this curse of mine. So sadhishyami. Now I will fulfill that. I'm going now to fulfill those words of my Bhakta. So thinking like this, Sri Bhagavan goes there, and what does he do? He crawls. There are many, many shlokas. So for want of time, I have compressed. I have just made some bullet points. I won't be reciting all the shlokas. So he crawls between the two Arjuna trees. He goes and reaches there, and he just goes in between them. They are standing just very close to each other. Very, very close to each other. So a small gap between them. And he's a small baby, so he just crawls in between them. Now, the grinding mortar, the mortar is tied to his waist, and it's also coming with him. Now, this mortar is so big that it can't go in that gap. The gap is too small. So the mortar gets stuck in that gap between the two trees. And then what happens? It's uprooted because Sri Bhagavan is moving, and by the enormous strength that he has, in the shloka in which this is described, it is described that he is so huge and he is so big, right? The fact that we see him as a small baby is very deceptive. He's actually the source of all strength. Everything comes from him. So the two trees, the moment the mortar touches the two trees become, they start shaking violently. All both their trunks, their branches, their twigs, and the leaves, they violently start shaking as if a huge hurricane has come and hit them. And then they crash the ground with a huge sound. And then out of them, illuminating all the directions by their brightness, two very bright looking personalities. They are bright like fire. Okay, they look like they are made of fire. The body is made of fire. They come out of it and they bow down to Sri Krishna. They bow down to the baby who's standing in front of them, and they offer prayer to that child Krishna. He's there with the mortar still tied to his waist, and he's sitting there on the ground, and they bow down to him. They touch their crowns to his feet, and they start praying to him. And in 10 shlokas in the Bhagavatam, the prayers are given. Again, I won't be going into all the shlokas. I will just recite a couple of them and then summarize the prayers. So they pray, Krishna, Krishna, Mahayogins, Tvamadhyaf Purushaf Paraha, Vyakta Vyaktamidam Vishwam, Rupam Te Brahmana Viduhu. Says, Oh Krishna, Krishna, Mahayogi, you are the greatest of all the yogis. Tvamadhyaf Purushaha Paraha, you are the original Purusha. You are the original person, and you are Paraha, means you are beyond this material existence. You are not a person like us. We are under this material existence, but you are Purushaha Paraha. You are above this material existence. You are beyond this. Vyakta Vyaktamidam Vishwam, this Vishwa, this material existence, or this material universe, Vishwam, It is both Vyakta and Avyakta. It has both aspects to it. The Vyakta portion, Vyakta means that which is manifest, which is seen by us, in front of us. That Vyakta and the Avyakta portion, which is not seen, the source of the material creation is also called Avyakta or Pradhana. Okay, before Brahma does the creation, it is present in a subtle form, very, very subtle form called Avyakta. Now, that Avyakta Rupam and the Vyakta Rupam, the manifest portion, both Vyakta Vyaktamidam Vishwam Rupam Te Brahmana Viduhu, both are your own forms. This universe actually is nothing other than a form of you. Not only what is manifest that we see here, but even the unmanifest from which the manifest comes, both are your own forms. They are nothing other than your own forms. And this is known to the Brahmanas. Te Brahmana Viduhu. Tvam Mahan Prakriti Shukshma. Tvam Mahan Prakriti Shukshma. Sukshma. Rajas Sattvatamo Mayi. Tvameva Purushodhyakshaha. Sarvakshetra Vikaravit. So you are this Mahan Prakriti. This Mahan Prakriti is nothing but your energy, and you, it's your own expansion, it's your own manifestation. Sukshma, it is very Sukshma, it is very subtle, it can't be seen, but it works through Rajaha, Sattva, and Tamas. Okay, we just studied about Rajas, Sattva, Tamas. So he's saying this Prakriti, which is operating through this Rajas, Sattva, Tamas, Rajas, Sattva, Tamo, Mahi Prakriti, is your own manifestation. Tvameva Purushaha Adhyakshaha. You are that supreme Adhyaksha, the supervisor. The supervisor, you are the supreme Adhyaksha, the person who is coordinating, managing this Prakriti. The Prakriti is your, subordinate. She reports to you. She works under your instruction, your guidance. Sarva Kshetra Vikaravit, and you are knowledgeable. Okay, in the 13th chapter, we learned about Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Okay, so another term used for the Kshetrajna, one who knows about Kshetra. Kshetra means this material body, which is made of the Prakriti. Different aspects of Prakriti are present in this material body. Now, Sarva Kshetra Vikaravit. Kshetra Vikaram means the different transformations through which this Kshetram goes, through which the body goes. You are the one who knows them. You know these things in completeness. Sarva Kshetra Vikaravit. In all the Kshetras, you are present and you know the transformations, you know everything that happens in this material existence. Right? You are the original person. You are the person who is the supervisor of the Prakriti. So Prakriti is your subordinate, and you are knowledgeable in everything that happens in this Prakriti. So in this way, they go on praying, and they mention that he is above the three gunas of Prakriti. He is not influenced by them. And people like us, we cannot understand him because we are covered. You see, our own body is covered by a mind. Everything is covered or influenced by the three gunas of Prakriti. So we can never understand him perfectly. Okay, we get to hear about him like this in the Bhagavatam, etc. We come to know something about him, but how can we understand him perfectly? Because we ourselves are under the gunas of Prakriti and he is above them, right? And he existed before these gunas even came into existence. You are covered to our vision by your own qualities. So his Yoga Maya, he says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter, how Yoga Maya Samavritaha. I am covered by my Yoga Maya. Naham Prakashaha Sarvasya. I am not fully visible to anyone. So he is covered by his own qualities, and his avatars are known by their extraordinary activities. So how do we know that something or some personality is an avatar of him? For example, Matsya avatar, we say Kurma avatar, Narsimha avatar, Varaha avatar, and so many different avatars come, right? So how do we know? We know by the very extraordinary activities, superhuman activities, right? In English, the word superhuman, but this is actually, if you read the activities that Sri Bhagavan does, then that is why they call it mythology, because they can't believe that even somebody who's superhuman can do something like that, right? That's why the English word mythology comes into existence. Something that's just fictitious. People who have just imagined and written it. But it's not imaginary. Sri Bhagavan really performed those things and he continues to perform them, right? So they are superhuman. And because of them, we know that this person or this personality who's appearing before us now is not a human being. It is somebody far above a human being. And these activities have neither an equal nor a superior. And he says that he comes, like he says, Yada ida hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam shajamyaham. He comes to give us what we want in different ways. Sri Bhagavan satisfies us and he establishes dharma. And they thank him. They say that we are so blessed to have obtained your darshan. And this happened by the kind blessings of Sri Narada. Now, what would have happened if Sri Narada did not go there and did not bless them? What would have happened was that for the adharma that they were doing, for the pap that they were doing, indulging in, unbridled sensual pleasure with two young girls, the way it is described there in the Bhagavatam. If they were continuing to do that, and if that kind of behavior continued all their life, then they would have only ended up in hellish condition in a future life. All their punya would have got burnt up, and they would have ended up doing pap, offending so many other people, probably committing some crime, and then eventually end up in some very hellish kind of existence in the future. But now, because Narada happened to come there, not anybody else, somebody else might have cursed them in a very bad manner, but Narada cursed them in a manner that they ultimately got the blessings of Bhagavan through the blessings of Narada. And therefore, they are so grateful. They know what they have got. They are able to value what they got, right? By making them stand as trees. You see, it's just like, I'll give you a very crude analogy. In the school, the teacher wants to punish the child who is very mischievous in the class, especially when the child is in a kindergarten or a small thing. You don't want to beat the child. You don't want to, harm the child, but you want to still punish the child so the child's behavior will become all right. So what do? You make the child stand in a corner. Okay, now stand in the corner. If you don't stand, I will slap you. I will beat you. The teacher will frighten the child and make him stand in the corner. Put your finger on your lips and just stand there. Don't move. Don't move your hand. Nothing. Don't look here. Don't look there. Stand with your face looking at the wall. Right? Teacher says, stand with your face looking at the wall. Don't look back. Don't look here. Don't look there. If you look back, I will slap you. So this kind of way, the teacher makes the person stand there for whatever time, maybe 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever. And the teacher hopes that by doing that, the other children who are also mischievous will stop performing mischief. And this child who has done this will not perform the mischief again, or at least not perform it frequently. Right? So in this way, the child is actually blessing, the teacher is actually blessing the child. The teacher is blessing the child and is blessing the other children also. And in the same manner, Narada, by making them stand as two trees very quietly without doing anything for 36,000 years, but remembering what they have done, he actually blessed them. So then what happens? So now this is the last shloka that the two sons of Kuvera, they conclude their prayers with this shloka. Vani gunanu kathane shravanau kathayam hastau cha karmasu manastava padayornaha smrityam shirastava nivasa jagat praname drishtis satam darshanestu bhavattanunam. So they are praying now to Sri Bhagavan. The conclusion is a prayer of bhakti. They say, may our voice, Vani, be always engaged in narrating your qualities. Gunanu Kathane. May our voice always be engaged in narrating about you, your qualities, your aspects. Guna means qualities, aspects, about your activities. Shravanau Kathayam. May our 2 ears, Shravanau, in hearing about what we are narrating, the kind of things we are narrating and about the gunas and activities of you. May our ears be engaged. May our voice be engaged in speaking about you. May our ears be engaged in hearing about you. Hastau cha karmasu manastava padayornaha. May our hands, hastau, be engaged in doing activities for your pleasure. And may our mind, manaha, tava padayoho. May our mind be at your feet, be always at your feet. May we always remember that we are at your feet. Smrityam shirastava nivasa jagat praname. May our mind or head, sorry, shiraha here means not mind, it means the head, the physical head. May our head be always bowed down, praname, in pranam, doing pranam to nivasa jagat, means this entire universe of living beings where you are residing. You are residing in everything. You are the nivasa jagat, means you are residing in all the living beings in this universe. And in that memory, in remembering that, keeping that in our memory, smrityam, knowing or remembering that you are present in everything, may our head always be bowed down to all the living beings in this universe. So the understanding is that this is humility. This is the humility of the bhakta. The bhakta is able to see that everywhere there is Vishnu, there is Krishna present. And because of this, he automatically becomes respectful. Humility comes from there, becomes respectful towards everybody. He is willing to offer respect to anyone, including the person who offended him or hurt him or insulted him, everybody. Drishtis satam darshane astu bhagavat tanunam. And may our eyesight, drishti means eyesight, may it always be engaged in satam darshan, means in seeing, in the darshan of saintly people, bhavat tanunam, who are just like your body. A saintly person is just like the body of Bhagavan. In other words, a saintly person is just like Bhagavan. It's as if Bhagavan himself is walking when you see a saintly person. So may our eyes always get to see saintly people, like Narada. It began with Narada, and now onwards, let it always be seeing only saintly people. In other words, what is this? What are they saying? They're saying, let us live, let our existence be among saintly people. Right? If we live among saintly people, then we always see them. Right? We don't see anybody else. We see only saintly people. So maybe always live in a place where there are saintly people. Itham sankirtitastabhyam Bhagavan Gokuleshwaraha Damna Cholukhale Bhattaha Prahasannaha Guhyakau. So, having been praised by them, by the two sons of Kuvera in this manner, Bhagavan, Sri Bhagavan Krishna, Gokuleshwara. Here the word Gokuleshwara is used, the Pati or the Prabhu of Gokula, right? Why is it used like that? Why is this word Gokuleshwara used here? Is to point out that in Gokula, this Bhagavan, the way he conducts himself, the way he appears, he manifests himself, is very different from the way he appears elsewhere, like in Mathura or Dwaraka or Badri or anywhere else, in this universe or in Puri. Everywhere else, Sri Bhagavan has that Aishwarya Rupa, where he is respected, right? Like, for example, the Chief Justice of India, wherever he goes, he is regarded with a lot of respect. He's a big authority, right? Or the Prime Minister of India, President of India, wherever they go, they are big authorities. They're always treated like that, except in one place, inside their own house. Let's say in their own house with their child will not treat them like that. The child will treat them completely differently. The child will climb on top of their head. The child will pull them. The child will slap them. The child will not stand before them and say, Your Honor, Your Majesty. No, the child will never, it'll look funny for the child to say that. So Gokuleshwara means that form of Krishna which is in that intimate association with his bhaktas. So the next line clarifies that. Damna cha ulukale baddaha. Okay, anywhere in the country or anywhere you go, any temple, you don't see Krishna tied to a grinding mortar. Do you see that? You don't see him tied to a grinding mortar, crawling on his legs. No, he's standing there with great majesty, with ornaments, with flower garlands. Everybody is chanting prayers all the time. Prayers are being chanted in front of him. Right here, he's crawling on the mud. Right? Somebody has just scolded him, and somebody has told him, like, I will not allow you to perform any mischief and be here only. Just stand quietly here. I'm tying you because I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I'm tying you to this mortar. Somebody has just told him. His mother has told him and tied him up like that. Right? Nowhere. Bhagavan is not treated like that anywhere except in Gokul. He's tied like that. Damna cha ulukale baddaha. Prahasan aha guhyakau. Prahasan means smiling. So with a smile on his face, he spoke to the Guhyaka. Guhyaka means the followers of Kuvera or the intimate associates of Kuvera, which here refers to these two sons of Kuvera. Prahasan Niva. So why Prahasan Aha? Why was he smiling when he spoke like that? It is smiling. It's explained that he was smiling because he understood that these two are in so much fear of me and they should not be because they are now in Gokula, right? So they won't smile, right? They are not in a mood to smile, although they are seeing me like this, right? Maybe in their mind, they want to smile, they want to laugh because, such a funny position actually. They would never have seen God like that. They would never have expected to see God. Of course, being devas, they know what God is, right? And they would never have thought one day we will see God in this form, crawling on the ground with something tight, heavy stone tied to his back. So he knows that they are not going to smile. They're going to be like this only. In front of me, they're going to be folded with their hands folded and they're going to look, they're going very seriously, they are praying to me. And therefore he thought to lighten the mood, let me smile to them. Let me smilingly speak to them. So he smiled. He gave them a smile. So to relax, to let the tension off. And then he says, Shri Bhagavan Jnatam mama puraivetat rishina karunatmanam Yat Shri Madhandayor Vagbihi Vibhramsho Anugraha Kritaha. Vibhramsho Anugraha Kritaha. Yat Shri Madandayor Vagbihi Vibhramsho Anugraha Kritaha. So Shri Bhagavan said, Gyatam Mama, it was known to me that Puraeva means before itself, not that I've discovered now, accidentally I came and I knocked you down and then you came out. And now I know that, okay, you guys were here for a long time. No, no, I knew long back itself that my Bhakta, Rishina Karunatmana, by the extremely compassionate Bhakta of mine, known as Sri Narada, um, because you people, out of your intoxication due to your wealth, Sri Madhandayoho, you are completely blinded by your wealth. This bhakta of mine, through his words, Vagbihi, through his words, he blessed you. Anugraha kritaha. Vibhramshaha. Here the word Vibhramshaha is used in Slesha Alankara in two ways. Means it has two meanings. One is Vigataha Bhramshaha, means one for whom the Bhramsha means confusion or delusion or wrong understanding, has been removed. Okay, Vibhramshaha. So you have been now blessed with removal of your wrong understanding. All the misconception that you had about happiness in life, reality, that has now been removed by the blessing. And the basic meaning of Vibhramsha is the same as Bhramsha, that is fall down. Vibhramsha means fall down. All your wealth was removed, right? All the opulence and wealth and everything was removed from you, and you were made to stand as trees for this much time. So, in both ways, one is to remove all your wealth, that's what the Vibhramsha means. The other is all your misconceptions have been removed, all your wrongdoing has been removed, and now you are getting prema. You are going to get the highest thing that anybody can ever get in existence, and that is called Krishna prema. So this anugraha has been given to you by my bhakta. Sadhunam samachittanam sutaram matkritatmanam darshananno bhaved bandha pumsokshno savitur yatha. Just like the sun, when the sun comes up, what happens? It removes the darkness from our eyes. Until then, before the sun comes up, everything is dark and our eyes see only darkness. But the moment the sun comes up, by the sight of the sun, all our darkness is removed. The moment we see the sun coming up, we look around, all the darkness is gone, and we start seeing things clearly. We see things as they are. In the same manner, sadhunam samachittanam, by seeing the sadhus who have a very equanimous mind, samachittaha. Samachittatvam means equanimity of mind or equanimity of consciousness. The consciousness is not um, going up and down between different types of moments of happiness, moments of distress, happiness on the one side, depression and sadness on the other side. This fluctuation doesn't happen to the sadhu. His mind is always in a state of balance, in a state of balanced joy, always experiencing joy within. Samachittanam, sadhunam, samachittanam, sutaram, matkrita atmanam, not just ordinary sadhus, but matkrita atmanam, by those who have given their life to me. Matkrita atma means whose atma or whose self has been completely given to me. Matkritam, it has been given to me. So those sadhus who are not just equanimous in the mind, but sutaram means moreover, those who have given their life to me, those who are my bhaktas, like Narada. By their darshana, what happens? All the darkness is removed. All unwanted things are removed from our life. And that is why we should hanker to see such people and associate with them. Tadgachatam mat paramau Nalaku vara sanjato mai bhavo sanjato mai bhavo vam ipsitaf paramo bhavaha. Says now please go. Gachatam means please go. Mat paramo nalakuvara sadhanam. So he's addressing them as Nalakuvara. Nalakuvara is the name of one of them, but he includes both of them in using the name of one of them because he is the elder one, I think, Nalakuvara, and the other one is called Manigriva. So Nalakuvara Manigriva, in that one word, he is capturing both of them. He says, now please go. And Mat Paramau, he's addressing them as Mat Paramau because now they are devoted to him. They are no longer just the sons of Kuvera, but they have become his bhaktas. They have developed bhakti to him. And this bhakti has come by the blessings of Narada. So Mat Parama, they have become Mat Parama, means his bhaktas. And he says, Sadhanam Gachatam. Sadhanam here refers to their nivas, their house. Just go back to your home, go back to your residence. Sanjato Mai Bhavo Vam. Now in you, bhava, bhakti unto me has been developed as you desired. Ipsitaf paramo bhavaha. Because in the 10 shlokas in which they were praying to him, in the last 2 or 3 shlokas, especially the last shloka which I read out to you, they're actually praying for his bhakti. They're praying to be engaged in his bhakti all the time. That's the prayer of a bhakta. So he says, whatever you have desired, now I am blessing you with that. Paramo abhavaha means the supreme form of abhavaha. Abhavaha means what? Bhavaha means samsara. Bhavaha means material existence. So abhavaha means the absence of material existence. And the supreme form of that absence of material existence is bhakti, is bhava. That word bhava is used here. Bhava refers to bhakti. So the supreme form of abhava is not just mukti. It is prema. It is bhakti, superior to mukti. So sanjato mai bhavo vam ipsitaf paramo bhavaha. What you desired, that prema, now I am giving you. Shri Shuka Uvacha, Shukamuni now concludes the chapter. He says, Ityuktau tau parikramya pranamya cha punah punaha baddho lukhalamamantria jagmatur dishamuttaram. So having spoken all these things, having been spoken to, having spoken to Bhagavan and having been spoken to by Bhagavan, they did parikrama. Parikramya means they did parikrama. They went around him maybe 3 times or 4 times, whatever number of times they went around him. Pranamya cha punah punaha. Again and again, they did pranam to him. Repeatedly, they went around him, did parikrama, and they did pranam to him. They bowed down to him, and then baddho lukalam amantriya. They saw the mortar tied to his waist is still there. He's speaking there, and the mortar is still tied to his waist. It has not been removed. So they bowed down to that mortar also, and to the Krishna who is tied to that mortar, and they took permission. Amantre means anugyam adaya, means having taken the permission. They took permission. Please permit us to leave. They took permission, and he sanctioned it. He said, "Okay, now go." Jagmatuhu dishamuttaram. They went in the direction of the north, Uttaram. Uttaram Disham Jagmatuhu. They went in the northern direction where they were probably residing. That's probably the place where their house was, in the northern direction. They went away in that direction. The northern direction is also said to be the place where a lot of saintly people live, the great personalities live. And one example again is Dhruva, for example, the Bhakta called Dhruva. He lives in the North Pole. They say near that is the star where he lives. So they went in that direction. So essentially, this wonderful Leela about Sri Bhagavan being bound by Mother Yashoda, that is part 1 of this Leela. The part 2 is where the 2 sons of Kuvera are given bhakti. Despite the fact that they committed a major aparad against a bhakta, out of compassion, the bhakta blesses them with Sri Bhagavan's kripa, and through that kripa, they get prema. They get that prema, and they are blessed with prema, and now they are endowed with that greatest richness. So this is what the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are about. In summary, why are we reading these things? Why are we listening to these things? These are not just some mythological stories meant to entertain us, make us feel good. They are much more than making us feel good. They open up our consciousness. Ultimately, it's all about transformation of our consciousness. Right now, our consciousness is aware of this external world, and all that we know about is the happiness that this external world gives us, right? So we are constantly looking for different ways in which we can make more money, we can expand our family, have more family members, have more connections with other people, become more powerful, get more position, have a bigger house, have a bigger car. Everything is about the external world. But the Gita and the Bhagavatam, they direct us to the internal world. Our real world, or a much bigger world, is inside us. That inner world is where our real consciousness is where our happiness is. And when our consciousness is directed inward, where it should be, where it ought to be, and where it actually resides, then we really unlock the true happiness that's inside us. And within that, within us, within inside us, is Sri Bhagavan also. And through him, by his grace, by his kripa, we can get the highest possible thing that is available to any living being, and that is called bhakti or prema, pure prema. And that is what both the Gita and the Bhagavatam are actually orienting us towards. So I will stop with this, and now I'll be happy to have your questions and comments. I try to make the session short, my speaking short, but unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, whichever way you look at it, the session goes on for a long time. And I want to actually give you more time to ask your questions and discuss.
Hello. Am I
Yeah.
audible, sir?
Yeah. Who is speaking?
Sir, this is Rohit, sir.
Yes. Good evening, Rohit.
Yes, sir. Pranam, sir.
Pranam.
Sir, so yeah, I wanted to understand how to become sattvic or how to have the sattva guna better in a more familiar setting, sir. So, for example, when you said we get anandam ya fir we become closer to God in sattva, and where we are just doing duty of God. But parents, for example, and family expect certain things of us. They expect we have money and resources to take care of them when they're old, if they get sick. And sir, but that requires us to actually aim for material things, right?
Yeah.
How, how do I balance this, sir? And that ambition of aiming for material things to at least serve the other like family connections that I have. That itself, I feel like it takes me away from sattva and towards rajas, for example.
Absolutely. So this question is a very important question. It's been asked to me many, many times before, and I've answered it before, but I don't mind answering this question a million times more because it's so important. And one thing that we should understand is that doing activities of bhakti or doing activities which give us more sattva guna, reduce rajoguna, tamoguna, don't require us, don't ask us to leave our normal responsibilities. All our responsibilities, such as taking care of parents, and because of taking care of parents, we may have to have a family. And because of having a family, we may have to also do a job, a normal job, and take responsibilities in the job, etc. All of these things can be done with the mentality of bhakti, of seva to Bhagwan. If we are able to see through the lens of the Shastra, okay, now the best analogy for this is the Pandavas in the Mahabharata. How did the Pandavas live? Did the Pandavas become sadhus? In fact, the whole Bhagavad Gita begins with Arjuna saying that, no, no, I don't want to kill them. I want to just go. It's better for me to just live like a sadhu. I live by begging like a sadhu, and by begging, I will get whatever is enough to maintain my body. That's enough for me. I don't want a kingdom. I don't want anything. And the whole Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is refuting that. He says, no, as a Kshatriya, you have to do your job. That is where your dharma lies. And by doing your job, taking your responsibility, he says in the process of Gita, Gita's ultimate conclusion is bhakti. He says, he points, become my bhakta, then everything will become clear to you. How you can do your responsibility and at the same time be very detached from this world. So, by doing our responsibility in a detached manner, detached from material enjoyment, but attached to Bhagavan. You see, detachment does not mean detached from everything. Detachment means attachment to something else. We cannot be ever completely detached from everything. So, to become detached from something, we have to become attached to something else. And what is that something else here? That is Bhagavan himself. Bhagavan and his bhaktas and his values, his thoughts, his values, his qualities. So, by becoming attached to him and following his principles, thinking about him, our whole life is shaped. So, we execute all the responsibilities, we take care of our parents, we earn whatever money is required, but we do it in a manner that is pleasing to Bhagavan. We don't commit himsa. Okay, ahimsa is a quality very pleasing to Bhagavan. So we are very careful not to commit ahimsa. So ahimsa paramo dharma, right? So we abide by ahimsa. Adveshta means freedom from hatred. We endeavor consciously to not allow the feeling of hatred, anger, jealousy, etc. to come inside us. The moment we detect it, we reject it. We say we don't want it because Bhagavan doesn't want it. I'm sorry, you were saying something?
No, sir, I understood this. So if I understand it correctly, all these let's say worldly duties that I do it with
Yes.
the knowledge that I am doing it as a responsibility or it's my kartavya to do it.
Yes,
Okay, and okay, got it, sir. I think I understand.
yes.
Thank you, sir.
Kartavya, and one is the drishti of Kartavya. The second is the drishti that this is very pleasing to Bhagavan. Gives him a lot of happiness when he sees me doing my duty sincerely, right?
Got
Doing my
it.
duty without any wrong values. That's exactly why we should read the Shastra to discriminate between what is right and what is wrong. As we read the Shastra more and more, these values become clear to us. What exactly is meant by ahimsa? What exactly is meant by being nirdvesh? What exactly is meant by being arjava, means simple. So these are all explained through different examples in the Shastra. So reading the Shastra every day is an important activity. So by doing this, we are able to cultivate sattva. Your question was, how do we cultivate sattva living in this world?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
sir.
yeah, I've given a very brief answer, but if you continue to interact with me, maybe personally also, one-on-one, apart from the class timing, then I'll give you more inputs on how you can become, you can incorporate sattvic habits into your own life.
Yes, sir. I'll do that soon, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hmm. Anyone else has any other question? Feel free to ask anything that comes to your mind. Nobody? Okay. So if no one has any further question, then we can close for today. So today we covered 6 shlokas from the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And we will do more shlokas going forward. We'll do, I think, 5 or 6 shlokas in every session and finish the 14th chapter in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We'll learn a lot more about the 3 gunas of Prakriti. We will also continue with Krishna Lila in every class. I hope that the two together are complementing your understanding well. So feel free to write to me if you have any questions or if you want me to cover something else too as we go forward along the same lines, which is within the scope of the Gita and the Bhagavatam. And I will try to align my classes to that too. So with this, I will go and do the Antya Pranamam, Antya Mangalam for today. Om स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे धन्यवादाः प्रणामः